Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today, for coming back after lunch and spending the afternoon with us. As Ayanna said, we are going to hear from the staff at the Division of Community Revitalization for this last portion. Excuse me, and we're going to give high-level overviews of the multifamily housing program, economic revitalization, as well as community infrastructure. As you heard earlier, particularly during the Q&A, we are really in the throes of continuing to develop these programs. Multifamily, we are getting close as we are hoping to launch that early fall by the end of September. So working hard to get these programs fully developed. So here's just a picture of our funding allocation breakdown from HUD. We received $1.4 billion. And then that's broken down based on programs: single family housing, $807 million, multifamily, $191, workforce housing for ownership, $53 million. And let me just stop right there real quickly. We're not gonna, Maggie Bataglin, who's our director of single family housing, she is not gonna present today. That program is was launched June 16th. So if you want to know more, if you know folks who want to apply, they can visit renewnc.org for applications and for more information on that program. Also, workforce housing, we are not going to delve into either. That is going to launch in 2026. We are just currently working to get multifamily on the ground. So more to come on that. And then as you can see, for community infrastructure, we have $194 million and $111 million for economic revitalization. And Ayanna and Emily will talk more in detail about those in a few minutes. All right, so our multifamily program, the goal of this program is to restore multifamily affordable housing and promote the development of new housing in the combined mid area. And that is, when I say combined mid area, meaning HUD and state. The HUD mid area will be priority, but it does not necessarily eliminate the state mid area. With focus on LMI, Dee spoke of this earlier. And currently the cap is we will serve up to 80% individuals serve individuals and households up to 80% of AMI. And I have in here projects may have mixed use components, and our target launch date is early fall. Target by the end of September. There are a lot of moving parts, and so we're working really hard to meet that. Eligible applicants are local governments, private developers, nonprofit developers, public and nonprofit organizations, community housing development organizations, and community-based development organizations. So it's pretty broad group. You can also, local governments can apply, and developers can be the subrecipient, can apply in partnership or with a letter of support. So there are different ways that can happen as well. Also, let me just mention, I meant to mention this earlier. As many of you probably know, we have the state action plan that's on our website as well, at commercerecovery.nc.gov. So a lot of what we're going through, the action plan is very long. Certainly, no, you all don't want to read the whole thing, but a lot of this is coming out of that action plan. If you want to refer to that for any more detail beyond our presentation. Some of the eligible activities for multifamily: new construction, rental units, substantial rehab of existing rental units that were affected by Helene, site prep and infrastructure improvements. Obviously, with rehab, there are also repairs that may not be as significant as a rehab, but those do qualify too from damages from the storm. Soft cost such as architectural and engineering fees, and then of course compliance with HUD requirements, construction accessibility requirements. Those are all eligible activities under this funding. We are with multifamily, we're focusing on, and that is wrong, and I should have had that changed. Sorry about that. Large projects, 5 or more units. I will get that changed in the presentation. That recently changed. Originally, in the action plan, you'll notice it's 8 or more units. So that is going to be a revision that we make, but it is going to be 5 units or more. And the minimum grant amount is 500,000 up to 15 million. I was just gonna note, there is the affordable rent requirement. That was the last bullet. So affordability and affordable rent limits, there's a link. When we share this, you can look on HUD's website, at the home program, what that is, what that formula is, and it's reevaluated each year, but and affordability is monitored over 20 years.
Okay, so I'm going to speak to the Economic Revitalization Program. The purposes of these funds, the CBGDR funds, this is a commercial district revitalization program. So this is the allocation for this was 111 million. You saw that in the pie chart that Misty showed the first slide. So this is the $111 million portion. On this slide below the allocation total, you can see the list of eligible uses. So these are obviously per HUD. These are pulled directly from the action plan. You can read about those in regulations as well as the action plan. Also feel free to reach out. But to put those in sort of terms that we might, talk about and are more easy to see and understand, that's going to look like public facility improvements, so streetscapes, lighting, sidewalks, other physical improvements to commercial areas. That's going to look like acquisition, demolition, site prep, rehab of commercial structures done by local governments. And then facade improvements to both publicly owned and privately owned buildings. In terms of this term commercial district, you can find this in the policies and procedures. It's not going to be defined based on zoning. We know that there are plenty of communities out west that have, little downtowns and they don't actually have zoning. But when you think about a commercial district, think about an area that is an economic driver for a community. So again, it's not about zoning. It'll be more about the intended use of the area. Are there commercial buildings in that area, et cetera. So eligible applicants for this program when it launches in the fall. So like Misty said, similar target. We are targeting a fall launch. We're looking at October. So eligible applicants will be local governments and nonprofit organizations. There will be some requirements for the nonprofit organizations in terms of working in partnership with local governments. We will be giving priority, of course, to eligible applicants located in and serving the HUD identified mid areas. And then Dee talked a lot this morning about disaster tieback. And so projects will, of course, be required to document a link to disaster recovery needs. And then in terms of the project amounts, the ceiling will be 10 million and the floor will be 500,000.
Community infrastructure, Renew NC. We received $193 million in order to conduct both public and community infrastructure projects. Examples would be water and sewer, public facilities, rec centers, resiliency projects. We were just here having a conversation about resiliency hubs. There's a lot of information regarding those on HUD's website as well as EDA. And so we are looking to roll out this program in early fall, sometime in October, November timeline. According to the action plan, there will be at least 2 rounds of funding, and more information on the design of the program and the specifics regarding the application will be available as soon as they are finalized.
You just heard our overview of the 3 or 4, because also the workforce housing, but the programs that are going to launch in the fall. So they're all CDBG-DR programs, and they all have to meet HUD rules and regulations. And we want to make sure that they are designed in a way that actually meets local government's needs, right? So that actually they meet needs that you guys are facing. So to that end, we do want to hear from you all about the barriers that you're facing in regards specifically to multifamily housing, infrastructure, and commercial district revitalization. And we know that folks have been surveyed out, like probably are not a lot of fans of what I'm saying right now, and totally recognize that. And the only way that we can design these programs in a way that meets folks' needs is if we have a little bit of more information. Now, part of that is because certainly you all have shared information via survey and otherwise, and provided really good data. And these funds are funds of last resort. So they're funds of unmet need. And so what your needs were a couple months ago, we're looking at what are your needs now so that we can understand how to gear the funds to meet those needs. This assessment will also give you an opportunity to share with us projects that you either currently are undertaking in those 3 areas or projects that you think you might be interested in undertaking. So the goal is that we, and by we, I mean DCR, so the division that is administering these funds, that we will have one of these readiness assessments from each local government. You know, even if your plan is to not apply for funds, so say we connect with you through this assessment tool or through a one-on-one, and you say, like, I'm not, you know, for X, Y, or Z reason, we will not be pursuing these funds. Okay, we still really want to hear from you. So we really want to make sure that every local government has a voice in this. It's super important to us. So you have options in terms of how you want to fill this out. So there are 2 options. The first option is that we have another QR code. So the QR code that Ayanna shared at first, that was for the readiness assessment. So those questions. There's a second QR code that you can go ahead and scan today that will allow you to schedule a one-on-one meeting with a DCR staff member. And in that case, you can meet, talk through the assessment questions, and then you can fill it out together while we're in that meeting. So if that works better for you, we're happy to do that. And then, you know, we'll be sending the link out after the fact. And so if your preference is to just go ahead and fill it out amongst you and your colleagues, then obviously that works for us as well. So this is, again, we're sort of interchangeably calling this a local government survey and a readiness assessment, because again, part of these questions, and you'll see this here in a second, helps us also understand the readiness of local governments. We are very aware that there are a lot of funding opportunities happening right now, and folks' attention is, I mean, rightfully so, in multiple places, EDA, et cetera. And so this does help us understand readiness. So first, it's going to be name, county, municipality, contact information. And I do want to say, and we're going to show a slide of what this looks like, or we're going to see this at the end, but I just want to go ahead and say, in case folks have this question, because this is a question I would be asking, because you're going to see that there are a fair amount of questions in here. And I don't know that one person who opens this is going to be able to answer all of them, and certainly probably not in one sitting or in that moment. And so just so you know, this can be saved. So you do have to flip through the entire thing, so you just keep hitting next, but at the end it can be saved so that you can share it with colleagues if you need other folks to participate in it. You don't lose your progress. Next item. Okay, so this set of questions is broken up into the different program areas. So what we just presented to you all on a minute ago was the 3 CDBG DR programs that have not launched yet. Again, that's commercial district revitalization, that's community infrastructure, and that's multifamily housing. So and workforce housing, I'm sorry, 4. And so these questions are broken in that way. So the first is about business impact and recovery needs. And so identification of commercial areas affected. Are there downtown areas or clusters of businesses in your community that remain vacant, damaged, or operating at reduced capacity due to Hurricane Helene? And then this does, you know, if your answer is no, it doesn't make you continue to answer questions that are not relevant to you. But if your answer is yes, it continues. It does then ask for a little bit more information about where those areas are. So city or town, again, the area of city or town, and then a brief description of the damage or impacts. And again, this just helps us get a better understanding of your current damage and needs. Okay, and so then we move into barriers to recovery. So what are the primary barriers to recovery in the areas you identified? Again, I'm sure you all have been asked this question way too many times. We are just trying to design these programs in a way that best speaks to and addresses your needs. And we're trying to ask it now as opposed to, I think some of this was asked in months prior, but again, because these are funds for unmet needs and funds of last resort, we sort of have to ask it where we are at. And so then we do ask you to rank sort of those barriers in terms of priority. So now we are in the multifamily housing section. And so again, we are starting with damage assessment and impact. So did Hurricane Helene cause damage to multifamily housing in your community that was affordable to low to moderate income households, resulting in residents being displaced? And then yes or no, again, you branch out. So if your answer is no, then you can just move on. If your answer is yes, then we ask for more information around the quantity. So the number of multifamily property sites impacted. And then there's a question about the estimating the number of multifamily housing units impacted. And then we're into significant challenges. So has your county or municipality identified any significant challenges to restoring or expanding multifamily housing after Hurricane Helene? And then we ask you to select 3 and prioritize in terms of what are most critical to supporting housing recovery in your we do ask about whether you all are currently or in the process of developing, redeveloping, or expanding multifamily housing with 5 or more units using CDBG-DR funds. And if your answer is yes, we do ask another question about those projects. And again, this is an opportunity for you all to share some of these project details with us. We're also, again, happy to do this one-on-one and to be able to learn more about your projects. And you can ask some of those specific questions that you all have asked during this session and the first training session. This is about affordable single-family housing. So this is the Workforce Housing for Ownership program. Has your local government jurisdiction identified a shortage of affordable housing? If you answered yes, then please describe some of the factors. And you know, for all of these sections, like for barriers you include, we want to hear about. So even if it seems insignificant to you, or if it seems abnormal or atypical to you, like please definitely still include it. So whether for these barriers, there are physical damage, there are financial constraints, like the government response in terms of funding streams has been slow, please share them with us. Okay, and then are you all interested in applying for affordable housing project with CDBG-DR funds? So we are trying to just sort of gauge interest in terms of these projects and your interest in CDBG-DR funds and accessing them. Okay, so this is the community infrastructure needs section. Again, it's a damage or need assessment. Again, it branches out. If you do answer yes, that you've had damages, we do ask what are the types of facility or service that were affected and are unlikely to be covered by other funding streams. So this speaks to earlier what he was talking about in terms of duplication benefits. We're trying to get an understanding of what type of funds, what types of projects you all still need that we might be able to fund through this program. And then question 21 asks for you to prioritize them again. Again, this is so we can make sure that our design is narrowly tailored to fit your needs. Okay, and then the last few questions are about local government capacity. This is just so that we can understand how to provide more support. So Dee shared a slide in her presentation this morning that had different TA providers. The state does intend to provide TA in terms of talking to potential applicants and hopefully future grantees to work on this together and figure this out. But these series of questions do help us understand sort of what is needed. So we're asking whether your local government has staff or contractors with experience in the following areas: federal state grant applications, managing federal state awards, budget tracking, procurement contracting, environmental review, etc., or none. Which none of this, and I should have said this at the top, none of this impacts like any future determination on a competitive application that the state will make. This is just information to us. And also we're not going to hold you to any of this. So if you said, if on a previous page you said, yes, we want to, we're interested in applying for funds for this project, and then you decide not, or you submit this and you don't include that some project that 2 months from now you realize you're going to want to apply for, that's fine. The next question, 23. Has your local government received assistance with grant writing, compliance, or project management from any of the following? And those TA providers are listed there. And then we ask a question about, in the past, has limited capacity led to any of the following challenges? So missed opportunities to apply for funding, declined to return awarded funds, denied funding due to incomplete applications or compliance gaps, delays in project implementation, or none of the above. We just want to understand how capacity has impacted you in the past, again, so that we can figure out how to support through that. And then what are your main barriers to applying for and managing recovery funding? So staff time, grant writers, understanding meeting local match or managing cash flow, and then challenges to court. So, yeah. So in the previous several slides, we asked the question, what types of projects are you interested in applying to CDBG-DR? So you heard us give our brief overview of the 4 different areas, so single family, multifamily, infrastructure, commercial district revitalization. And now we're asking, what types of projects are you interested in? And again, it's just more information about that. And it helps us understand what you're thinking. And then just anything else. So now we're at the end, and this is where if you hit submit, I think that's where you get the option to save. Is that right, Ayana? Yes. So that was submitted, but if you click save my response to edit, which Ayana, you don't need to do, but that's where it takes you to an option to have a link that you can then sort of hold on to. You can also share with your colleagues. So again, you don't have to fill this all out in one setting. Your progress will be saved. But we really do ask that we receive this from every local government. Obviously, every local government is not on this call today. Every local government was not on the first session. We will be doing a lot of one-on-one outreach. Some of you all may have heard from DCR staffer already about this. We are looking forward to sitting down one-on-one and talking this through. Here is the QR code that I referenced earlier when we're having some tech issues. If you are in the room now and you know that you're going to want to sit down one-on-one and fill this out sort of live with the DCR staffer, feel free to go ahead and scan that QR code. That's where you can sign up. The materials that we send out after this and that are posted to our website after this will also give you that option, so you don't have to do it now. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you especially to Dee Taylor and colleagues at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the League of Municipalities, the School of Government, and of course, the Council on Government for partnering on this series and hosting today. Special thank you to Foothills because that's where I'm at right now. So this is the second in a 3-part series. The third will be in mid-September. The exact date TBD, but it will be decided very soon. Again, we welcome direct outreach, and we will be in touch and or look forward to hearing from you in terms of the readiness assessment and the survey.